Now this, to me, is a real treat. I've been a fan of old Mercs for a very, very long time because they're just brilliant. And this, of course, is a Mercedes from a time when everything they did was over-engineered. And this is big, and it's handsome, and it's cool as well. Mercedes-Benz 230 CE. The CE is, of course, referring to the two-door body shape. 2 doors and pillarless doors. Pillarless, yep, it's pillarless, isn't it? It screams of 1980s opulence. Even though this is a 1993 car, it's still 1980s, isn't it? That's not 90s, that is 80s. The design is extremely uncluttered. There's nothing going on there that it doesn't really need. The most busy part is probably these rear lamps with the ridges on there. Everything used to have ridges in the 80s, maybe even the 70s in some case. This is quite a well-used car. It does have lacquer peel on it and a couple of rusty arches, but mechanically it's absolutely spot on, and it is solid underneath. That's me promoting the car for sale. Now let's get back to what I like about it. I have used the word cool once already, but I am going to use it again because it's just, what does it make you think of? It makes you think of Florida in the 1980s. The kind of people that have got money but aren't so American that they buy American cars. They buy something classy instead. American luxury with more money than what you need. Or Britain, possibly. For the kind of British people that aspire to be like the series Heart to Heart without the inconvenience of being on a cruise ship or getting murdered. And having more money than what you need means having a 2-door that's this big. It really is a very long car indeed. 45-degree angles and wedgy bits and no unnecessary swage lines. It's very, very simple indeed. And what I do quite like as well are these tiny little mirrors. They look like monkey's ears. It's rather huge squared headlamps, but rectangular, like a wobbly rectangle, and the Mercedes wobbly emblem in the middle there, trusting that no one's going to try and snap it off. Old Mercedes means over-engineering, build quality, all those kind of things. So you can expect that most of this stuff to be rather basic, but all working properly. So I quite like to try out the door shut sound. Yep, even the door handles have a properly sturdy feel to them. Here's a rather interesting feature. The seatbelt comes out to make it easier to put on. So I believe apparently for the Americans who didn't really want to wear their seatbelts, and the assumption was if you made it as easy as possible for them to put the seatbelt on, they'd be more likely to wear it. Plus, when it's there on your shoulder, it's kind of annoying. Well, all of the interior is that typical 80s Mercedes look about it. Lots of beige cloth and wood bits and very dark plastic, soft plastic, but I think that's one of the sturdiest feeling dashes I have ever felt. There's a glove box there full of bits. The air vents are properly heavy duty, they're not going to break in a hurry. And then we have buttons like that one and that one and that one. Look, I don't even know what they're called. I mean, I do really, but I can't remember. And they all have a purposeful feel. Yeah, what I'm trying to say there is that I have felt buttons on cars like this that are trying to feel more premium than what they actually are, right up until the point where they don't work any longer, but these will carry on working forever. Then we have, of course, the usual wheels for the temperature and airflow, or airflow's that one there, and more buttons which they just feel sturdy. ashtray for people who smoke, and then more buttons down here for the windows, of course, and then the gear selector. That's such a positive feeling change there. Under the bonnet. Now it looks like it doesn't lift up too far, but there's a service position that can have the bonnet rather than a 45-degree angle, more like 180 degree. And here is the engine under the bonnet. That is a 2.3 litre 4-cylinder. I'm not sure what the power is, it's this amount, so it's not massively powerful, but it doesn't need to be. Old Mercedes weren't really about going stupidly fast and annoying your neighbours. They're about comfort, reliability, something more than that as well. Exclusivity, that's the one. I don't think Mercedes are that exclusive these days. Now, because this is such a long car, you would expect to have plenty of room in the back. Well, it's not really designed for backseat passengers, I don't think. It's more about being in the front. But, however, with these pillarless doors, or these pillarless frames on the back, at least you can have your arm out the window while you film yourself. There is a bit of headroom, but it's not a lot. Like I said, it's not that kind of car. If you want to sit in comfort in the rear, get yourself a Renault Zafira or a Vauxhall Espace. Look, there's the first aid kit in the back, that's definitely original. And then we have a little armrest that you can pull down there, and an ashtray, of course. And then a little section here that just pulls out. It's like a big sponge, so you can place your items. And then presumably you put that in the boot, or just carry it. Yeah, we're definitely not going to sell this car on access to the back. The dashboard is very, very simple. Just a speedometer, rev counter, fuel gauge, oil pressure gauge as well. I mean, you don't always get that. And then temperature gauge as well. Foot. Just turn it on. And that is a lovely, lovely smooth engine. It sounds strange to say this, but it's not really the kind of engine they make any longer. There's a rather big steering wheel, but then again, this car is not designed for going around corners quickly. It's a steering box on these, so they're not particularly responsive. It doesn't encourage that kind of lunatic behaviour that some people like. And then the really cool, quirky thing here is the handbrake. Release there, but put on down there. That's how you put the handbrake on, by pressing that. I reckon that might confuse some people. Should we see what's in the boot? What's in the boot is quite a bit of space, but not a massive boot, because the fuel tank is in the middle. This car has the original breakdown triangle, which is very useful for people who break down. Ideally, what you would do with that is sell it to someone with a newer Mercedes. Underneath the carpet then we have the spare wheel just under there, and it is a full-size wheel as well, and lots of little gaps everywhere to store small things. But how big a thing can you store in the back? My usual question is, can a man get in the back of there and be stored? Can you store a man? Would you like to store a man in the back of there? Well, I reckon I could fit in there, but I don't think anyone with a car like this would be trying to trap a gangster. Thank you, seatbelt holder. Now this is a really nice car to drive. It's so big and floaty. Actually, I was expecting it to feel a bit wobbly and a bit clunky on the steering, but it's not. It just feels solid. This is a proper waftmobile. So it feels quite big, but it's also very, very easy to drive as well. Normally along this stretch of road here, which you can do 40 on, I would be doing 40 by now. But I'm not, I'm doing 30 because this Volkswagen in front is going very, very slowly. But I honestly don't mind. It's just, gosh, taking up all the road as well. It's not the kind of car that makes you want to drive silly. Just wants to bob along gently, calmly. And here's a roundabout which I have absolutely no urge to fling it around. And when we get out the other side, I'm stuck behind a couple of trucks and I'm really not bothered at all. I'm sorry, but there's going to be no speeding around in this thing. Just haven't got the urge to do it. There is the manual side to this gearbox as well, and that all works. Kick down, all works as it should do. But I've just come over all sensible. I've never felt so unrushed in my entire life. Even when I'm having a poo. I could just overtake this learner now, but I don't even want to do that. It's maybe what it is with a car like this is that the faster you get to, or the quicker you get to your destination, the quicker the journey's over with. And so you tend to want to do it slowly so you can be in it for longer. I don't think you're going to get many boy racers trying to challenge you in such a thing as this, but you're certainly not going to have the urge to try and compete with them. And that's a nice thing. It's a proper grown-up old classic. And it's one of the nicest cars I've ever driven. And there's not a clunk or a rattle or anything loose anywhere, which is typical of this kind of car. I think the best thing you could do in a car like this would be a driving holiday. Taking something like this all around Scotland or all around France and Spain. Couldn't think of anything better to drive for that. Just because of how quiet and how comfortable and how refined it is and how unhurried the thing is. It's just fantastic. It's the kind of car you could hire for those exact purposes. There's a business idea for you, if anybody wants to take Andy up on it. If I was a collector of classic cars, I would definitely be wanting to put that one in there. And the price just reflects the fact that it is a bit of cosmetic stuff doing on it. And to be honest, I don't think you could ever get another car quite like that for that kind of money. So I don't suppose it'll be around for very long. Which is unlike how I want it to be in there, because this is very much the kind of car I could just happily spend all day just driving. I really haven't got anything negative to say about it. You can accept a bit of lap appeal, a little bit of rust in a 30-year-old car. It's absolutely fantastic.